We're in Chicago.
Are they already in Chicago?
The one and only Leo Biaz. Hey, Leo.
I'm excited to be back, my man. It was 9 days in Vegas. We got stuck in the desert, and we had a little hangover remix out there, man.
I wore a wig to school once, and they said no headgear was allowed.
How did
Spiderweb
was it
tights.
Obvious that it was a wig?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was having
terrible
fun.
wig.
See, this is exactly why we have them on the show, and this is what makes them fun.
You're listening to KXVS, the voice of Stockton, 92.1 FM.
Hello, welcome to Chef Tobias Cooks, here where we have kitchen conversations with professional chefs, cooks, home cooks, bakers, and people that just can't cook. So join us every week for our kitchen conversations and learn a thing or two. And I don't burn nothing in my kitchen.
Do you want to relive the golden days of Stockton? Join Nate Knott on Stockton Alive every first and third Monday at 6 p.m. Tune into thevoiceofstockton.org.
My name is Miriam, and I am the voice of Stockton.
KXVS, the voice of Stockton live. The voice of Stockton at Stone Soup Studio. KXVS.org.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of KXVS, the voice of Stockton, or its parents, affiliates, management, and staff.
KXVS, the voice of Stockton, presents True Talk with Christina Kimball.
Hello and welcome to True Talk with Christina, where we dispel myths about housing, real estate, mortgages, and finances so you can make the most powerful choices for yourself, your family, and the legacy you leave. My name is Christina Kimball, and I'm a California mortgage and real estate professional licensed since 2012, serving our clients and team here in the Central Valley. Today, I do not have a guest joining me, and I will be sharing with you about the Fair Housing Act and how it really impacts you, what you need to know, and what you need to avoid. Before we dive in, I have my legal and compliance disclaimer to read. As soon as I finish that, I will dive into the Fair Housing Act. Residential and commercial loans are made or arranged pursuant to a California finance lender's law license. Edge Home Finance is licensed by the Department of Business Oversight under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act, NMLS 891464, and my personal NMLS 1484144. We support equal housing opportunity. Listeners, viewers, and the general public can verify licensing at nmlsconsumeraccess.org. You can get more information about mortgages on our website at edgehomefinancecv for Central Valley.com, or you can call for more information at 855-428-8554. I am licensed to help my clients buy, sell, and invest in real estate at Volant Real Estate through the California Department of Real Estate. My license number is 019-12461. Licensing can be verified at dre.ca.gov. You can visit my website for more information about me and homes for sale at ChristinaKimball.com, or you can call or text me directly at 209-425-4229. You can call or text me with questions about real estate, or if you have a show topic idea to submit. True Talk with Christina is live at 1:05 p.m. every Tuesday right here on KXVS, the voice of Stockton. Currently, you can watch KXVS on social media through live streams on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. Like what you hear? Consider becoming a supporting member of our station. You can learn more at kxvs.org. So I wanted to share just a tiny bit about me, and then that's going to segue into fair housing. It sounds odd, but trust me, I'll make the connection there. I was born in Stockton, California, at St. Joseph's Hospital in 1972. I was eager to escape my mother's womb and initiated my escape 2.5 months early. This was about 4 years after the Fair Housing Act was enacted into law. See, I made the connection. The basis of the act was that property rights, whether owning or renting property, could not be reduced or restricted because of discrimination based on the color of your skin, national origin, or religion. It was later expanded to include gender, handicap or disability, and familial status, such as including having children under 18 years old living with you, living with parents or legal guardians, and pregnant women. They're also working now to get included in that, I think, sexual orientation and gender identification. So no matter what, we don't want to discriminate. Oh my goodness, if I could say it right. I can't say it and I don't do it. How about that? So no matter what, we shouldn't discriminate against anyone when it comes to housing. So I wanted to make sure today I'm going to talk a little bit about what does that really look like? How did the law come about? Not going too deep because it gets pretty violent and gruesome, actually, everything that led up to this act coming about. So prior to the Fair Housing Act, there was a lot of violence. There was harassment. There was abuse and resistance against people of color as well as certain religions. Thus, the beginning of the act, when it was first initiated, why they only included those few things. They were addressing something very specific that had been going on throughout recent history. So laws were passed or attempted to be passed in several states to actually ban people of color. And there's a couple of reasons that I'm talking about this today. We recently went to Idaho, and I was there for a week visiting my sister. And when we got back to Sacramento, we were driving back to Stockton, and some news article popped up on my phone, and it was talking about how Oregon used to ban. And I'm going to be really blunt in how I say this, and what I say may not be politically correct, but I will say black people, because that's specifically what they were looking at, was the color of their skin. And Oregon had passed a law, and I forget how far back, but it's 1800 something, to ban black people from Oregon country. Didn't want us there. Probably really wouldn't have wanted me there, seeing how I am. I think they would have called me mulatto, being biracial. Well, more than two. I say a mutt, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just a wonderful mixture of many cultures, and I'm proud of it, and I love it. So I was reading this article, and I was watching the video of how they had discriminated against. I don't know why I'm merging these words, discriminate and against, but they discriminated against black people. They wanted them out of the state, so much so that they passed a law that any black person in the state could be whipped every 6 months while they remained in the state. Now, I read an article just before I came to the studio today, that said that lashing never took place. It was quickly repealed and whatnot. The person who initiated that ended up becoming a governor of California. So I wish I could remember where I saw that initial, what news source I saw that from. The article I was reading about that the lashing never took place, that was on the Washington Post. So you can find that there. But it really stood out to me because I grew up in the 70s, okay? And now we're in 2018, and I didn't have to live through that. I didn't have to experience that. But there are people who fought through that took up that charge so that we could have these laws for fair housing, that nobody could kick you out. And another article I read that just hit a website this morning was from Inman.com, and it was specifically talking about a violation of the Fair Housing Act. And this happened in Alabama. I don't know the exact dates, it doesn't say, but the headline is Alabama landlord sued for allegedly demanding sex from tenants. This is a violation. And it's appalling that anyone would have to face this and feel unsafe in their own home. In the article, it says that, where is it? He was demanding, okay, at least it's not too detailed. But if you have small children, you might want to put them in another room. I should have said that sooner. But the allegations were that he demanded sexual acts from female tenants in exchange for rent or to prevent eviction. So I'm going to say his name, just so everybody knows to avoid him in Alabama. Randy Hames of Cullen, Alabama, is accused of violating the Fair Housing Act by engaging in sexual harassment, according to the Department of Justice, which is seeking monetary damages to compensate the victims, civil penalties, and a court order to bar future discrimination. This is not okay. And that's why, between these different things that I read within the last week, I thought, this is a good time to talk about fair housing. So under the current act, I'm going to read this from realtor.org. The Federal Fair Housing Act makes it illegal to discriminate in the sale, lease, or rental of housing on the basis of a person's race, color, religion, gender, handicap or disability, familial status, which includes, again, the children living with the parents who are under 18, not the parents, the children are under 18, with legal guardians or pregnant women, and national origin. And let's talk about what does that really look like. And I don't know that this episode, this True Talk is going to go all that long, because I really want to just focus on this. And if you are watching on Facebook, I have it open on my phone. So I'm going to ask some questions and kind of run some scenarios by you and get you to think about, is this a violation of the Fair Housing Act, this particular scenario? So let's say you're working with a real estate agent and they're showing you some homes. Let's say it's you. Let's pretend, if you're not, that you're married and you have a child, and let's say your child is in a wheelchair. So your agent's taking you around to look at some homes. You drive by one that's for sale, and she takes you to another one that's for sale. And you're walking through and you say, yeah, this looks nice, but what about that house just up the street that we passed that was for sale? And your agent says, well, that's a nice house, but I don't think it'll work for your daughter to be able to get around in it in her wheelchair. Is that a violation of the Fair Housing Act? And if you're on Facebook, you can go ahead and comment yes or no. You could say not sure, because it sounds helpful. Is it helpful? Is it a violation? Or is it okay? I'll wait a couple seconds so you can respond. I know there's a delay on what I'm seeing with the comments too and what I'm saying, but you're with an agent. She doesn't show you a house because she doesn't think that you can get around in it with your daughter with the wheelchair. Is that a violation of the Fair Housing Act? It sounds like she's being helpful. It seems to make sense. But she's not showing you what's available to you that you could buy. And there is, specifically in this one article on realtor.org, I'm going to read this part. It says, discrimination can take the form of refusing to sell, lease, or otherwise make unavailable a dwelling to a particular individual who has the ability to purchase or rent the dwelling, or inducing a person to sell or rent by referring to the prospective entry of persons of a particular race, religion, national origin, or handicap. Setting different terms or conditions for different people in the same sale or rental. Falsely denying that housing is available for inspection, sell, or rental. So if you're steering as a real estate agent, or if your real estate agent is steering you to a specific property and away from another one because of one of those protected classes under the Fair Housing Act, it is a violation. So that agent was steering this family away from one house toward another one because of a disability. Is a disability one of the protected classes under the Fair Housing Act? Yes, good job. Good job. So that is a violation of the Fair Housing Act. We already know the article that I shared earlier about the landlord in Alabama. Obviously, that was not a good thing. And the Department of Justice is the one that pursues these things. So now, let's say I heard a real estate agent talking about they were showing a minority family a home. And while she's touring them through this home, she gets a phone call. Ring, ring. She's, hello? And it's one of the neighbors. The neighbor said, if you sell the home to that family, I'm going to bleep, 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 bleep. So he threatened the agent. So now if the agent said, you know what, I don't think this home is going to work for you, and went and took them somewhere else in another neighborhood where, let's say, there was a large concentration of their particular culture, is that a violation of the Fair Housing Act? And I guess I should say, I am not an attorney. I'm not giving you legal advice. I'm sharing some scenarios. I'm not sure what to say as a disclaimer in this particular situation. However, I would refer you to HUD's website, hud.gov. If you have any questions about your rights in regards to fair housing, that is where you want to go to check that out and to get more information. HUD.gov. Okay, so now let's take another scenario. You have a family, they're very, very religious. And instead of picking, well, you know what? Let's say they attend a mosque. Not a church, but a mosque. And their agent is showing them some homes. And they give them a list of mosques and a list of homes that are for sale near the list of mosques that they gave their clients. So they go and look at these homes and they say, are there any other homes for sale that fit our criteria? And the agent says, no, these are the ones that fit your criteria that are currently on the market. Well, if the client never told them, they never said we want to live near a mosque. They just knew that they attended a mosque. Is that a violation of the Fair Housing Act? I'll give you a couple seconds to answer that. I'm seeing nods. So the Fair Housing Act, thank you, Ginger. The Fair Housing Act says that religion is a protected class. So the agent probably thinks they're being helpful because they're trying to be considerate of that family's belief, that person's belief, and steer them toward homes. And steering is not a good word we like in the real estate industry. Steering them toward homes that they feel that they would be more comfortable in because it's near mosques. This is a violation of the Fair Housing Act because, one, religion's a protected class. And remember where I read that falsely denying that housing is available for inspection, sale, or rental. So when those people ask their agent, are there any other homes? And she says, no, these are the ones that fit your criteria. Okay, that's a violation of the Fair Housing Act. So I'm sharing these scenarios so not just that the general public knows, but also real estate agents, because sometimes we feel we're being helpful to the client. However, it's a violation of the Fair Housing Act. So let's pick another one. Let's talk about rentals. I'm not in property management. However, I have rented apartments before. So let's say I'm going to look for an apartment and I go to this great complex. I'm not even going to pick a street name because I don't want anybody to think I'm talking about anybody, because I'm not anybody specific anyway. So I go to look at an apartment and I talk to the leasing agent and they tell me this 1-bedroom apartment is $850 a month. And I look around, I think that's kind of high for this 1-bedroom apartment. And it's not like I'm in, well, I started to say San Francisco, but you probably can't find an apartment in San Francisco for $850. So $850, I'm like, that's kind of high. So I leave, but I had already told my friend, who, let's say her skin is paler than mine, and maybe her nose is a little more narrow than mine. And so she goes into the same apartment complex, and they tell her the rent is $700 a month. And by the way, it's a month-to-month lease, or actually she could do a lease and save even more money by signing for a year. However, when I talk with my friend, I say, hey, she told me I had to sign a 2-year lease, and those terms are not the same. Is that a violation of the Fair Housing Act? Go ahead and comment if you're on Facebook anyway, so I can see it right now. You can comment wherever you're listening or watching, but those are the comments I'll specifically see because I have it here on my phone. So if I get different rental terms based on the color of my skin than a friend who has different color skin, is that a violation of the Fair Housing Act? Yes, good job. You guys are so smart. Okay, so we talked about handicap, although it seems helpful, right? So you want to make sure you're really conveying your needs to your real estate agent or your leasing agent. You also want to make sure that they're not steering you to a particular neighborhood unless you've specifically said you've wanted to live there. You want to make sure that nothing's being excluded. Ask your real estate agent, if you're searching for a home to buy, for their website so that you can look at all homes for sale. Ask for their mobile app if they have a mobile application so that you can search for homes for sale yourself right on your phone. As well as, of course, go over the criteria you're looking for. Now, if you want to be in a certain neighborhood, near a church, for example, or a mosque, there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is when the agent takes that upon themselves and says, okay, you're going to look at these homes for sale and I'm not going to show you anything else. There was also one other thing here. Because of the Fair Housing Act, and this is something I wanted to make sure I shared, because if you are working with a real estate agent who is a law-abiding, ethical real estate agent, there are certain questions we are unable to answer because of the Fair Housing Act. So what will happen if you're working with a professional is they will refer you to different resources to obtain that information because of this law and others as well. So here's an example when you're working with an agent who is sticking to the rules and abiding the law. Here's something you might hear them say. And I want to share this because I don't want you to be offended or think that this agent's not trying to help you or they're discriminating against you. They're actually abiding by the law. So if you hear an agent tell you something like this, and they should be polite, but they'll say something like, I'm sorry, but I can't provide that information. You can get that information over here on this website. You can go to this organization or this website and obtain this other information. So like demographic information, especially if you're wanting to, if you're asking anything that has anything to do with any of these protected classes, they're going to refer you somewhere. They should refer you to somewhere to get that information. For example, let's say you are religious and you ask for a list of churches or mosques or temples or whatever it might be. Well, your agent, instead of handing you a list specifically of those, they may hand you a list of all types of religious organizations and their locations and where they are so that you can determine for yourself. They're not giving you something specific that's limiting, but they're giving you an overall view. So this is important. So if they say And hopefully they will. You'll understand now after hearing this if they say I can't provide that information because of the Fair Housing Act, and it prevents me from steering people away from certain areas or towards certain areas based on race, color, or other protected categories or religion. So our job as a real estate agent is to help you get that information. However, we do have to be careful about abiding by the law, protecting everyone, not just one group of people, but everyone. So fair housing, it's been in existence for 50 years. This is the 50th anniversary. And it was interesting. I was watching a video. Oh, where was I watching that video? I think it was on the National Association of Realtors website this morning. Yeah, it was the national website. It wasn't the state one. It was on the national website, and it was a video talking about the 50th anniversary of the Fair Housing Act, and they were showing different real estate agents. And interestingly enough, our own profession was ripe with discrimination in the beginning. When it comes to the National Association of Realtors, they did not allow people of color to become realtors. And that is why I am a member. I am a realtor. I'm also a member of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. That organization is one that was formed to fight for democracy in housing. And we're known as realtists instead of realtors because we couldn't be realtors when the organization came out. So we started our own, and now we're realtists. And we work together. It's not to fight each other. It's to fight for democracy and housing. We had a big part in the Fair Housing Act that came out in when? Let's see who was listening in the beginning. When did the Fair Housing Act become enacted? When did it become law? Maybe you remember when I was born here in Stockton in 1972. And maybe you'll remember that I said it was 4 years before that. I don't know if that helps you remember, but it helps me remember because I'm connecting it to something personal. And it's been 50 years. So you could also subtract 15 from 2018 and get there if you like doing math. Personally, I'd rather just subtract 4 from my year of birth. And that helps me remember. So 50 years, we've been making a difference. We've come a long, long way. And we still have a little ways to go, but we need your help. We need your help in stepping out there and being courageous and buying a home, renting a place for you and your significant other, for you and your children, to report violations of the Fair Housing Act. Because we can't allow these things to continue. Everybody deserves fair housing, regardless of anything. Really, anything. It doesn't matter. So if you want to know more about what is involved with the fair housing, what are your rights? And remember we call them protected classes. The protected classes are race, color, religion, gender, handicap or disability, familial status, familial, just think family, and national origin. You have the right to housing, whether you're buying or renting. You have the right to do that freely without discrimination, without harassment, without violence, without what that crazy person was doing in Alabama. I don't even want to keep saying what he was doing, but okay. He's a bit out there, but he's not the only one. So if you find yourself a victim of a violation of fair housing, please report it. Please learn what your rights are. Go to HUD.gov, and that is the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Go to their fair housing page. And if you just go to HUD.gov, you'll find a link to the HUD portal and you can just do a search for fair housing. And so those symbols you see that look like they're a little outline, generally it's black font, and it looks like a little house with a little equal sign in the middle. That's equal housing opportunity. So you want to make sure anybody that you're dealing with does abide by these laws, that your rights are protected. And there's a lot of, so here's the flip side. So there's a lot of people doing bad things. However, there are a lot of people doing really, really great things when it comes to housing in our local area and throughout the state and throughout the country. So what do we need? We need people who are ethical, who are moral, who are going to abide by the laws to get involved with real estate investment, to become landlords, people who are going to do the right thing, that aren't going to discriminate. And maybe you're afraid of becoming a landlord because I don't want to be a landlord, because you have that bad picture in your head, the negative, like the guy in Alabama, or somebody just ripping people off, or discriminating against people, not upkeeping, not maintaining the property, and there's roaches everywhere and holes in the wall and wires going things like that. You don't have, that is not every landlord, and it doesn't have to be you. However, you can make a difference in your city, in your neighborhood, and it trickles out from there. If you can provide a safe place for people to live, a place where they don't have to worry about somebody coming in and committing an act of violence against them, somebody who doesn't have to worry about rent gouging, and all these things, poor maintenance of property, inhumane living conditions, you can make that difference. So do you own a property of your own already? Perhaps you could do a refinance from it, pull some cash out and purchase another property and become an investment property and become a good landlord. Make that word a good thing. I think the Lord in there, the landlord, you're lording over somebody. I think, yeah, see, you just laughed over there too. Huh? Lord, who wants Lord? Yeah, yes, Massa. No, I'm just kidding. But don't even think about that. You own a property and you're providing housing for people, because the reality is not everybody can buy a home. Not everybody actually wants to buy a home, but everybody does deserve a place to live that's safe. So if you own a home, that's one route to becoming a real estate investor and making sure that people have a place to live that does not violate their fair housing rights. You could, if you have money in the bank that you've been saving, you don't know what to do with it. I actually met a lady a few weeks ago. We did the home ownership bus tour with our local board of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. And she said, I've saved all this money, but I'm not sure I want to buy a home. Kind of been thinking about investing somehow, whether it's stocks, whether it's bonds, whether it's real estate, whether it's something else. So she wasn't sure what to do with it. But somebody who's honest, who's ethical, who's law abiding, and has this little nest egg, isn't that a great person to purchase property and provide housing for someone? Housing for an individual, a family, a couple, whoever is going to be living there, where they don't have to worry about their rights being violated. That's incredible. So you could become a landlord, and maybe one of your fears is, I don't want to manage property. I don't know how to fix things. I'm not a handyman or a handy woman, a handy person. I can't be a landlord. Guess what? You don't have to do all those things. You can hire handy people to come take care of issues. You could hire contractors to do the work. You could hire landscapers to maintain the yard. And there's a tip for you. If you have rental properties, where they're not the huge complex, because typically you are going to have somebody take care of the outside maintenance. But let's say you buy a duplex or a triplex or a single family residence or something that is not a huge complex. We'll just keep it like that, apartment complex. You can have the landscaper included in the monthly rent that you're charging. And that's another set of eyes on the property for you. So you've got, your planned walkthroughs. If you'd like, you can have a landscaper who's there every week, every other week, a couple times a month, whatever it might be. Oh, you're welcome, Samantha. Samantha thanked me for sharing good information. You could hire a property manager. And we know some really, really good ones locally. And they can take care of screening potential tenants. And they can take care of collecting that rent. They can even coordinate some of the repairs. Maybe you say, hey, up to a certain dollar amount, you go ahead and take care of it. Just let me know what the issue is, but I know you've got it. So there is a lot that can be relieved from you when you decide to invest in properties and make them available for rent. If you are strapped for cash and you have no extra money for repairs, maybe investing right now is not the best financial decision for you. However, maybe it's something you put on your radar that you decide to do. Hey, this is a goal I have. I want to provide a safe place for people to live. I want to be able to make a difference in my community. And I know stable housing, having stable housing is a huge, huge part of that. I want to make a difference in that area. Maybe you're not sure where to start. Give us a call if you'd like. If you'd like to talk about it and just go over your options. If you know a real estate agent or a loan officer, other than my fabulous self, just kidding, other than me, but reach out to them if you want to know more. You don't have to. However, if you think, maybe I could do that. Maybe that's something I could do to make a difference, because I know what kind of person I am and I'm not going to violate the law. Maybe I could help one other person. I encourage you to get more information from whomever you're going to get it from. Maybe you haven't purchased a home. So you've never bought a home before. Maybe your first purchase is an investment. Could be. It doesn't have to be someplace you live. Maybe you like to travel and you really don't want to own a home because you're never around. You're just traveling and seeing the world. I would love to hear about some of your escapades. I love beautiful travel pictures. But you have options and you have an opportunity. We need good rentals. Maybe you're thinking about selling your home and buying another one, but you don't need the money from your current home to purchase the next one. Well, consider maybe keeping your home as an investment, and now it becomes a rental and you go and purchase another property. And then maybe 10, 15, 20 years down the road, you decide, maybe 5 years, you know what? I'm going to move out of state. We got a lot of people moving to the other side of the country. They want to live in Florida, where the other palm trees are, not just here in California. And so now you've got two properties and you just have a decision to make. Am I going to keep it? Am I going to sell it? I could sell it and buy that RV, and drive across the country, become a snowbird, where you go to these places where it's always warm. You're never cold. Or you keep that house as your second rental and you buy another one or a condo or something, because now you're getting older in years and you know what? I don't want to take care of a big place. I just want something small. And now you've got two rentals. You've got something that is providing safe housing for somebody else. And if hopefully you did it the right way, it's providing cash flow. So it's additional cash provided to you, or if you don't need it, maybe it's additional cash that you take and fund a nonprofit that, hey, maybe you want to give it to KXVS, the voice of Stockton, and help fund the station. But you have a lot of options. So I'd encourage you, if you'd like to explore your options, to get a hold of somebody, whether it's me or somebody else, just to reach out and have a conversation and see if this is something that might work for you, and knowing that you're making a difference for somebody else. So, bottom line, wrapping this up here for this week, Fair Housing Act. It is to protect people so that they are not discriminated against based on specific protected classes. What are they? Oh, I was waiting for you to tell me. What are they? I'll look at some comments. So the protected classes, again, because people don't remember this is why I keep repeating these protected classes, because even real estate agents don't necessarily keep this at the forefront of their mind and are conscious of what they're saying. Because again, like that scenario I shared in the beginning, it could appear that you're being helpful, but it's actually a violation of the Fair Housing Act. So us as the professionals, we need to be very careful to make sure we are not violating the law while we're trying to help our clients. Okay, so those protected classes, again: race, color, religion, gender, handicap or disability, familial status, and national origin. And I'm going to share the website again in case you did not catch it, where you can get more details about your rights when it comes to fair housing. You can visit the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development's Fair Housing page, and you can find that through HUD.gov, HUD.gov. Phew. Kind of a heavy topic, especially with all the reading that I was doing for this, and just the rough history, the violent history that led us to having a need for this law in the first place. That is why we have a lot of laws, because usually something bad happened, and a lot of bad happened, but a lot of people stood up for what's right. And they fought and they talked. I don't mean fought necessarily like fist fight, but they pushed through the legal processes to make a difference and to fight for your right to fair housing. And I would like to take a moment and thank everybody who has fought for fair housing, that has made a way for my husband and I to own a home. We've been married 7 years. And we've purchased 2 homes together. We don't have both of them, but we've purchased 2 homes in 7 years because somebody stood up for what's right. Somebody fought for equality in housing and fought against discrimination. Things don't change overnight, but through awareness and conversations and taking a stand, we can make a difference. And in our current political climate and the cultural sensitivity of our nation right now, it feels like we've gone backwards. However, we still have the opportunity to take a stand and do what's right. And if we would just love people, we could make a huge difference. So it starts with us. It starts with you. It starts with me. It starts with our circle, and we go out from there. It kind of sounds cheesy and maybe a little trite. Just love. But it's the truth. And if we say that and it comes from here, and maybe you don't feel like loving someone who looks different or you've had fear around, I encourage you to go out and find someone who maybe is of a culture or an orientation that you've been afraid of, and get to know them. And it can make a difference starting with you. So all of that about fair housing. So thanks again for joining me today. My name is, I got to stay close to the mic. My name is Christina Kimball. This has been True Talk with Christina on KXVS, the voice of Stockton. Fair housing, 50th anniversary. If you want more information, if you have questions and you just want to talk something out, feel free to reach out to me. If you're not sure if you're being discriminated against, or you just want to have a positive buying or home selling experience, or if you want to be referred to a reputable property manager, I think I need some water. Reach out to me. I'm glad to help. Have a great day. Have a fabulous week, and I will see you again right here. Thank you. Water. Same time, same place, 1:05 p.m. next Tuesday. KXVS, the voice of Stockton. Have a great week, everybody.